Alrighty, before we dive into the workouts, before we dive into the nutrition or anything else, we're going to do something that most coaches skip entirely, and this might be the most important exercise that you do. We're going to figure out who you're becoming, not what you want to lose, not what you want the scale to say, not how much muscle you want to put on, although that is important, but today we're going to focus on who you're becoming. That's what this whole system is built on. It is built on a transformation. This is the PRVAILR goal setting system. It's a research and evidence-based approach to goal setting, taking techniques from the absolute titans of the game, James Clear and Tony Robbins. And by the time we're done today, you'll have a framework that will outlast any motivation you've ever felt before. I have personally gone through this goal setting program and it works. I'm going to tell you this is possibly the most important exercise you will do, so please take the time to do this carefully and intentionally. I promise you will not regret it. Goals alone don't change lives. This is why most goal setting fails. Here's the thing. Almost every client I've worked with has had a set of goals before. I want to lose 30 pounds. I want to get in shape. Does this sound familiar? Does this sound similar to your situation? Most of them have tried and they've quit more than once. Not because they're lazy, not because they don't want it, they really want it. But the goal itself was never compelling enough to survive a hard Tuesday. James Clear put it perfectly. Winners and losers often share the same goals. The difference is the daily systems they execute. And Tony Robbins has been saying for decades that willpower alone is a terrible strategy. So we're going to build something better. These are the 5 pillars of real transformation and change, which is an identity-based transformation, and these pillars are what the PRVAILR goal setting system is built on. The first pillar is identity. This is who you decide to be, who you want to become. The second pillar is vision, the future that you're moving towards. The third pillar is systems, which is the habits you do on repeat. The fourth pillar is environment, which is designing your life so that success is the easy choice. And the fifth pillar is accountability, which is having somebody in your corner to make sure consistency actually happens. And guys, this is not just a quick pep talk. I know a lot of you are busy, but this is going to be one of the most important exercises and important sessions that we have together. So this is a 60 to 90 minute onboarding and goal setting process. Everything we build moving forward sits on top of what we figure out today. So this exercise is the key to your success. So give it the attention that it needs. Give yourself the attention that you need and set yourself up for success by going through this exercise. Are you ready to go on an adventure? I know I am. The first step of this adventure is to build the future identity. Now, I'm going to ask you a different question than you've probably ever been asked. Not what do you want, although in a second here, I probably will ask you what do you want. But right now, I'm going to ask you, who do you want to become? This is an even more important question. Those are very different questions. I want to lose weight is a destination. I am the type of man who never misses workouts. Now that's a person, and that person makes different choices at 6 a.m. That person responds differently to stress. And that person doesn't negotiate with the snooze button in the morning when they're trying to get to the gym. The shift from outcome to identity is everything. Let me repeat that. The shift from outcome to identity is everything. I want that to sink in because identity drives behavior, and behavior reinforces identity, and it becomes a loop, and eventually it just becomes who you are. This is a self-reinforcing loop. So what I want you to do right now, like you see on the screen here, I want you to create 2 columns. And I want you to take about 10 to 15 minutes to go through this. I want you to pause the video in a sec here. But on the left column, we're going to put the outcomes. What are we after? Do we want to lose weight? Do we want to get abs? Do we want to lose 40 pounds? Do we want to lose 10 pounds? Do we want to gain muscle? Whatever it may be, whatever you're after from this program, put it on the left here. And on the right, I want you to write the identity that goes along with that goal. Who do you want to become? For losing weight, maybe it's I am the type of man who never misses workouts. So take 10 to 15 minutes, go through this exercise, pause the video right now, and come back in a sec when you're done. Welcome back. Now we're on the second part of step 1. So let's go a little bit deeper. I want you to think about every role that you play. As a husband, as a father, as a leader at work, as a friend. What does the best version of you look like in each of these roles? Because here's what I've found. Most people, they don't want six-pack abs because they want abs. They want to feel like somebody who takes care of themselves, someone their kids look up to, somebody that gains respect from the people around them, and somebody that fully shows up in their lives. So let me ask you a question here. If you are already that person that you want to become, what would your Saturday morning look like? What would you eat for breakfast? How would you handle stress at work? That's who we're building. So I want you to take another 5 minutes right now, and I want you to ask yourself some of these questions. Maybe you go through a day in the life of the person that you want to become, and you write down all the things that you do. Maybe you write down how you show up with the people around you, how you show up in your relationship, how you handle stress, how you take care of yourself. You're going to know what the best questions to ask yourself are. So take a few minutes here, run through some of these questions. Pause the video, come back in a sec. Welcome to step 2. This is the 7 whys. Now, I'm going to ask you to push yourself a little bit here. I want you to ask yourself why. And then when you give yourself that answer, I want you to ask yourself why again and again and again. And we're going to do this until we hit something real. Most people start with, I want to lose weight, and that's fine, that's okay. I mean, that is kind of the direction that we're headed, but why? Is it because I want more confidence? Why does confidence matter? Because I want to feel attractive to my wife. Why is that important? Because I want our marriage to be what it used to be. Now we're talking. Now we're getting somewhere. We keep going until we get to the thing that when you say it out loud, you feel it in your chest. So we're going to keep on asking why and why and why. Because once we get down to this moment where we feel it in our chest, that's your real reason for wanting to achieve the outcome. And that's what we're going to come back to on the days when everything in us, everything in you wants to quit. We're going to come back to this because this is your real reason for continuing forward. So I want you to take another 10 minutes and go back to your outcomes that you wrote down in the first part of step 1. And I want you to ask yourself why. I want you to ask yourself why until you get down to that thing that you feel in your chest, that is the real reason. I want you to really take the time to do this. Do it with intention. Be patient with yourself. I'm asking you to be vulnerable. I'm asking you to push yourself. It might be uncomfortable, but this stuff is going to really matter in the long run. And like I said earlier, it's going to be what you come back to on the days where you feel like quitting. And whatever goal you have, there will be days that you feel like quitting. So this is super important that you do this. So take 5 to 10 minutes here. Could be less, could be more. And write down your whys. Take your outcomes, write down your whys. All right, so pause the video, come back in a sec. In step 3, I'm going to ask you to write down 2 stories. Okay, the first story that you're going to write down is what full commitment looks like. You do the work, you show up. All right, a year from now, what does your life look like? Your energy, your body, your marriage, your confidence, the way your kids see you, the way your coworkers see you, the respect that you get, the way you get treated. Write it out. Make it as vivid as possible. Okay, so that's the first story. The second story is nothing changes. You keep doing what you're doing. A year from now, where are you? What does that cost you? And I'm not trying to scare you by doing this. I'm trying to make the decision very clear for you. Okay? Research actually backs this up too. Pairing a vivid vision with an honest look at the cost of inaction dramatically increases follow through. So we're going to create a vivid vision of both scenarios and we're going to look at the difference. And I'm going to ask you to decide, and I know which one you're going to decide. If you're here right now, you're going to choose the full commitment. But I want you to write out these two stories, and then once you write them out and you decide, we're going to build a plan. So take another 10 minutes right here. Take 5 minutes to write down the full commitment story and make it as vivid as possible. I want you to really feel this. I want it to be deep within you that you feel this. Okay, and then the second story is what happens if nothing changes. Make it as vivid as possible. Take 10 to 15 minutes right now, pause the video, and come back when you're done. Alrighty, now we're on the fun stuff. This is the part that you actually want to do. We're going to put some numbers to things. Yeah. All right, you already defined your outcomes in the first part of step 1, but now we're going to put some numbers to it. You might have already put some numbers to it in step 1, but we're going to get very clear now. We're going to set some metrics of what we want to do here in this program. So these are your outcomes. It's not your identity. This is your scoreboard. Maybe it's losing 35 pounds. Maybe it's deadlifting 405. Maybe it's running a marathon. Maybe it's getting your blood pressure under control. Whatever it is, write it down specifically, okay? Because vague goals produce vague effort. I want you to put a number, a metric to all of your goals. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on this, but take a stab at it, okay? Here's what I need you to understand. You are not a number. If you fall short of 5 pounds, if your goal is to lose 40 pounds and you fall short by 5 pounds, you have not failed. The outcomes are just mile markers. They tell us if the system that we are building is working. The identity is the real destination. If you become the person that you want to be along the way, that is the real goal. So take a minute here, set some numbers to your outcomes. If you didn't set numbers to your outcomes in the first part of step 1, do it here. I want them to be very specific. If your goal is to run a half marathon, that's great. Your goal is to run 13.1 miles. If your goal is to deadlift a certain amount of weight, that's perfect as well. Put the weight down. I want you to take a moment, set these outcomes with specific, measurable numbers. All right, so pause the video and come back once you've done that. Welcome back. This is step 5. We're going to create systems. James Clear, if you don't know who James Clear is, he wrote the book Atomic Habits. He's an expert on change, habits, and everything self-transformation. But James Clear says it best, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So here's the question. What would the future version of you actually do every single week? Would they walk 10,000 steps a day? Would they work out 4 days a week? Would they meal prep on Sunday, or would they do a meal prep service? Would they have protein with every meal? Would they be asleep by 10:30? Would they get 7 hours of sleep per night? What we are creating is not just suggestions. These are going to be your non-negotiables. And these can be adjusted. Sometimes we might get a little over-ambitious in the start. Other times we maybe don't set the bar high enough. But this is the architecture of the person you said you wanted to become. This is the person you want to become. This is what the person does on a weekly basis. It could be a daily basis. The plan isn't the workouts that I write you. This is the plan. The workouts are just the roadmap of how to get to a healthier body. But this is the non-negotiables that you are going to do in order to become the person that you want to become. So take 5 to 10 minutes and write down the things that the person that you want to become would do, the non-negotiables. Write them down. 5 to 10 minutes, pause here, and come back Time travel. I'll see you in a sec. You've time traveled. Welcome to step 6, where we're going to remove friction. Now, most people think that they have a discipline problem, but one huge part of this equation is actually environment. And it could just be an environment problem, or at least a big part of the equation. So if there's junk food on the counter, you'll eat it. If your gym bag isn't packed, you'll skip it. If the food delivery app is 3 taps away at 9 p.m., you know what's happening. You're ordering the dang food. So we design your environment to make the right choice the easiest choice. We want to make the right decision the easy one. Pack the bag the night before. Put your protein on the top shelf. Schedule your workouts in your calendar like a work meeting, not as a preference, but as a commitment. This is about removing the friction between who you are and who you're trying to become. So I want you to take 5 to 10 minutes here with what you did in the last step of identifying your non-negotiables. I want you to write down easy things that you can do to make those non-negotiables easier to accomplish. If your goal is to lose weight, it could be keeping healthy snacks visible. Okay, so there's some examples here on the screen. I want you to do is go to your non-negotiables and write down some examples of how you can make accomplishing that easier. Pause the video, come back in a sec. All right, welcome to step 7, identity statements. So here's a practice I want you to take very seriously. Every morning, say these out loud. I am someone who does hard things. I am someone who keeps promises to myself. I am someone who finishes what I start. This sounds very simple, but it's not easy. What you say to yourself shapes what you do. Okay, so I want you to pause the video right here. I want you to write down your identity statements. We got some examples on the screen. Okay, I am someone who does hard things. I am someone who keeps promises to myself. I am someone who trains even when busy. I want you to create your own identity statements. You could take some of the ones that are on the screen. Take 5 to 10 minutes, create your own identity statements, and come back in a sec. Welcome back. This is step 8, which is keystone habits. All right, out of all the habits we've talked about, I want you to choose just 3. These are your 3 keystone habits. The 3 things that if you do consistently, they pull everything else in the right direction. And I know you know what I'm talking about. It's the things that out of your non-negotiables, out of the habits that you have identified, what are the 3 things that if you do them, they're going to pull you in the right direction? For a lot of guys, it's working out, getting enough protein, and sleeping. I know for me personally, getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep is the utmost important. Like that is what pulls me in the right direction. I want you to pick yours. Don't try to change everything at once in your life. This is going to be unmanageable. I want you to pick 3 things that you're really going to hone in on, and I want you to dominate these 3 things first. So, step 8, identify the keystone habits. All right, I want you to pause the video here, and I want you to identify 3 habits that you are going to absolutely dominate. I'll see you in a sec. This is step 9. We're going to prepare for failure. I know the way that sounds doesn't sound great, but this is the slide that most coaches skip, and we need to talk about this. We need to talk about when you fail, because you will. It's not if, it's when. Life is going to get busy. You're going to travel. The kids are going to get sick. Work is going to blow up. So we plan for it now. What are your triggers? What usually causes you to fall off? And when it happens, what's your plan? So that is what we're doing here. For example, if work gets crazy, I do a 10-minute workout instead of skipping entirely. Here's the rule I want you to live by. Never miss twice. You miss one day, that's life. When you miss 2, that's the start of a new habit. One bad meal doesn't wreck the entire week. I think what keeps most people stuck in their fitness goals is an all or nothing mindset. That's what keeps people in these habitual cycles where they go hard towards their goals for a little bit and then they fall off. Fitness is not an all or nothing thing. Okay, one bad meal does not wreck an entire week. You can still make progress even when you fail, but it is very important that we make a plan for when you fail because it will happen. And we need to respond to that accordingly. Your response to that bad meal determines everything. We need to reset hard and get back fast to our habits. So, what I want you to do now is I want you to identify your triggers. What situations knock you off track? Is it work stress? Is it travel? Is it kids? Is it illness? Is it vacation? I want you to name each one of these before it arrives so that you are aware of what is going on that is keeping you from reaching your goals. Okay. And the next part of this equation is we're going to build if-then plans. So if work gets crazy, I do a 10 to 20 minute workout instead of skipping. I don't have the all or nothing mindset that keeps a lot of people stuck. Building an if-then statement, it leads you to be 2 to 3 times more likely to follow through. All right, and the third part of this equation, like I mentioned before, is never miss twice. And if you do miss twice, don't quit. Get back on the program. But missing twice, doing something twice is the start of a new habit. So we might slip, but we need to recover hard. We need to have systems in place for when we fall and when we fail. So I want you to take a few moments, take a few minutes, and run through this exercise. Come back in a sec. Step 10 is accountability and coaching questions. The last piece of this whole equation is accountability. Every week, you and I are going to check in, and I'm going to ask you 3 things. What wins happened this week? What obstacles showed up? And what do we need to adjust? There's no judgment ever. My job is not to shame you. I need you to show up honestly and wholeheartedly and share what is going on in your life. My job is to help you improve the system. And the questions I'll keep coming back to throughout our work together are the same ones we started with. Who are you becoming? Why does it matter? What habits does that person practice every single day? And the answers change as you grow. And that's how you know it's working. You are becoming the person that you want to become. So this is what we're going to go through for accountability every single week. Weekly wins, weekly systems, no judgment, ever. In closing, you are not just chasing a number. I want you to leave here with this. What we are building here is not a fitness plan. It is a transformation. Your body changing is just evidence that you are changing. The discipline, the consistency, the identity that you build in this process, that bleeds over into your relationship, your career, your being in every single area of your life. Physical transformation is never just physical. Identity leads to vision. Vision leads to systems, and systems done consistently lead to transformation. That is the PRVAILR promise. That is the PRVAILR way. I'm proud of you for showing up today and putting in the effort towards this exercise because you are laying the foundation, the brickwork for the rest of this program and for the rest of your life. So share this with me, share this with your coach, and let's get to work.